Sorry. And I'm going to tell everybody that. Council members, we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to, good morning. Welcome to the special mid-month budget workshop meeting here at the Pitt Center, Town of Southern Shores, on this gorgeous spring day, April 16, 2024. If everyone would please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll take just a moment for a moment of silence now. Thank you. I do want to let everyone know that Mayor Pro Tem Matt Neal is in Manio this morning attending the Housing Task Force meeting, representing our community with those ongoing discussions about housing and the challenges and maybe some possible solutions. So council, we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any amendments, or can I hear a motion to approve as presented?
Can I make one
Oh,
request?
sorry, yes.
I'd like to ask you to consider adoption of a resolution today that would allow us to apply for local assistance to stormwater improvement infrastructure through DEQ. We need a resolution that y'all are okay with us making this application, and I can explain more, but that's an action item.
Okay, so that's after
We do it after, it can be two.
number 2 under
Number
business
2.
items. Okay,
Okay.
so we have an amended agenda. Did we want to discuss the other resolution you were thinking about? In terms of contracting for services?
Oh, no, if that could wait till the main.
That could wait. Okay, all right. So council, I'm sorry, we have a amended agenda in front of us. If there is no discussion, is there a motion to approve as amended? So moved. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an adopted amended resolution, excuse me, agenda. Okay, we'll start off this morning with our presentation from our town manager, Cliff Ogburn. Good morning, Cliff.
Good morning. Thank you all for taking the time to do this workshop. What I'm hoping to get out of this is to make sure what your comfort level is with the amount of fund balance that we're appropriating this year for some rather large projects. It's a big amount of fund balance, and I just want to make sure that as you look at the department's our requested budget and what you have in front of you is right now, where if today was the first meeting in May, this is the budget I would be presenting to you. So we wanted to make sure you saw this, you were comfortable with what was in the departmental budgets in the general fund. All the department heads are here so they can answer any questions you have about their particular line items and their requests. And as we go through that, then we can get into the bigger picture with the upcoming stormwater and the bridge and the pass and those improvements. So if it's okay, we can just start at the beginning and see, with each one of these line item department budgets, if you have any questions, anything jumps out at you, then we can address it.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody start? Can anybody start?
Do you want to start, or do you want us to
No,
start?
y'all, please.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
just real quickly, it looks like we have I'm sure I'll be corrected here. About a 2.18 increase in revenue and a 6.3% increase in expense.
Sounds
Just
about right.
overall.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if I was a general public looking at that, and how does that, and then you're going to tell us how to balance that, right?
That's right.
Okay,
And if you back out, like I said, some of this nearly $3 million worth of fund balance, then
right.
that would
That you're going to take,
switch.
so we're going to take $3 million of the fund balance for the capital projects essentially.
On this very, if you'll go to page 3.
And the other question I have is on the expense increase. If you take the capital expenditures out and the expenses, eliminate them, they're one-time events is what they are. What would the real operating increase for running the city be?
Okay.
On a percentage basis. I didn't take time to do the numbers because I wasn't sure what was being spent where. So.
Yeah, actually, I think I can go ahead and answer this.
Okay, yeah. If I jump to something you were going to get to, just
No,
say
this
I'll
is
get
perfect.
to it.
If y'all will go to page 30. 30.
Page
Yep.
30?
Yes, in the packet. Yep.
Okay. Right, that's got the,
What that shows is we've got, right now we have $4.8 million in spendable fund
Right.
balance. That is after is it
$3
$3
million.
million? or 3.5? That's after the 3.5 million that's earmarked that we can't touch.
okay,
And so what we're recommending to balance the budget is a use of 2.9 million, which, so the remaining fund balance would be about $2 million above that 3.5. If you go on to the next page, it'll show you that what we're recommending in the budget, kind of based on what we think you all have directed, is of course, we've already applied for and received the grant from the Tourist Bureau to put the path in on NC 12. We've prioritized getting the path, already existing path in the north end of town repaired. We've put $150,000 in that. Joe's been working on the engineering design of this, and we plan to bid those two projects at the same time, hoping to capture some savings there. And then the other part is the annual $1 million of street work. And so if you go on to the next page, you'll see
I'm sorry, Cliff, what's MUP mean?
multi-use path.
Thank you. All right.
If you go on to the next one, you'll see there's another $2.4 million that we're recommending. The culvert replacement, we put at 2.1. That's about 1.6 for the engineer's estimated cost. There's some contingency, and then there's some construction management. That document scanning, I think that 180, I think we can take it out. I think we found a way, working with another vendor, and we got a quote in yesterday, and we're working with that. We're making sure we're comparing apples to apples with these quotes to make sure we're getting what we need. But we think we might be able to come back to you in May with a budget amendment, either taking it out of lap salaries from police or taking it out of the interest income above and beyond what we thought we would earn. We may be able to go ahead and get that funded. And then the building renovation, we put in kind of at a high end of 200,000. So that, if you look at the 2.9 we're recommending on using, and if you were to take out those three one-time big expenditures, there'd be a remaining $438,000 of fund balance that we would use for operating expenses. So I think that answers your question.
Okay.
But like I said, I think you can back 180,000 out of that.
Yeah.
And so a penny of tax generates about $170,000. And so that 438 would be a 2.6 penny tax increase. But like I said, we can lower that. So I think that answers, long way of answering your question. If you take out all those capital one-time expenses, we'd still need about $300,000 to balance the budget.
To run the
Yeah. Now,
$300,000 increase.
yes, sir. But now I'll say that
Okay.
there have been, in the last 10 years, we've probably used an amount of fund balance to balance the budget
On paper.
on paper. So on July 1, we need that $300,000 to balance the budget. But the end of the fiscal year, we don't. We haven't used, actually spent fund balance for operating expenses since you've been here.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So the revenues have usually always exceeded the expenditures.
Okay.
So following up on Mark's question, can you just sort of describe generally for these recurring increased operations expenses, what is sort of taking the biggest chunk of that?
So
What
if
are
we go,
the list of things that it's representing
if
that
you go,
chunk?
we'll start back at the, you want to go?
Sheila had a good point.
What's that?
From Mr. Nelson, should we, explain to him the resolution about 3.5 in the fund balance? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's his first budget.
Just about that, just to clarify that there's the fund balance, that there's no statutory requirement about how much fund balance we have to carry. The local government commission recommends 8%. So that if we didn't have, one day we woke up and there was no money, there was a storm and it wiped everything out. There was COVID and 10 times worse than it was. And we had to have money to keep paying payroll and keep the doors open. So that would be the use of fund balance. And most coastal towns have at least a third of their general fund earmarked with fund balance because of the threat of hurricanes. And I think I don't know, 3 years ago, our fund balance policy was we would 1.75, we would put off, you can't touch it, you can't spend it, that's for emergency purposes. But I think after COVID, it kind of made us realize storms aren't the only thing that you can consider to be a disaster. So the council upped that to $3.5 million. So there's a pot of money that the town has that cannot be touched except for, and it's outlined in a resolution, what those emergency issues are. But the town has accumulated a good amount of fund balance in the last 5-6 years. And so we've got, I think, what did I say, just over $4 million of spendable fund balance. And that's what we've kind of been banking for. I think that's what it enables us to be able to pay cash for things like the bridge and these paths and these other things. So I just wanted to make sure that when I'm asking you to spend $3 million, you're comfortable knowing that you still got 3.5 earmarked. But anyway,
And no tax increase. Am I
no,
reading that right or am I reading that wrong? It's
No.
going to take a tax increase to balance it without,
if we didn't use the fund balance, then
yeah,
it would require up to 2.6
Up to
cents of a
2.6,
tax increase.
right.
But because we have such a
nice fund
healthy
balance.
fund balance, kind of makes it difficult.
No tax increases being proposed
Correct.
currently.
That's what I was
Right.
trying to
So
thank you
you-
for
No worries.
clarifying my words.
No, I get it.
Meeting adjourned?
No.
Well, I mean,
No.
for our public, I just
Yeah.
think it's
Thank
nice
you.
to be able to say that at the beginning.
There you go.
But let's talk about,
How we got there.
how we're getting there. And again, sort of, describing the increase in operational costs and what we're getting for our money, I guess, is what
Thank you. Yeah.
people would be interested in.
All right, so what Bonnie's going to do, if you'll go to page 6, we'll start with each departmental budget, and she can tell you, explain what some of those increases are, including the computer services.
Good morning, council.
Morning.
So on the admin and in all departments, the salary, cost of living adjustment is 4%. I have checked with all the other municipalities here in Dare County, and we are in line with what they're doing. So we're 4%. That was the CPI number as of February, which is about the time that we started working on the budget. So that was that increase. We are currently still out looking for health insurance as we got a 8% increase this year. Currently, we are on what we call an age-banded policy, which means that we pay according to the employee's age. And so far, that has always been the cheaper route, and it's cheaper for the employees that have to have dependent coverage that they pay for their dependents. What we are doing now is we're looking at other vendors besides Blue Cross Blue Shield to see if we can get a better rate than the 8%. It seems like they give us a slight increase of 1% or less for a few years, and then they just really catch up in a, 8%. So we are looking for those. So those numbers are not final. Hopefully, we'll be able to find something that's a little bit more reasonable, but still a good, policy for the employees. On the state retire, yes, sir.
On the salary increases, is there merit included in the number after the COLA?
Merit is in addition to the COLA in the amount of up to 2.5%. Yes,
thank
sir. On the North Carolina State Retirement System, we, the employer, I think when I started, it was at 5%. We're now at 12.88 and for regular general employees, and at 14.10% for police. That is going up next year to about a percentage each category. So that is an increase there as well. And going through for our, Sheila and I just did our audits for our property and liability insurance that we have to do every year and workers' comp. So we should be getting those numbers back to make sure that the insurance line of $110,000 is within what we need to be. So that's for all of our insurance premiums that we pay for property liability and workers' comp. And going through the utilities increase is that is more in line with where we currently are in the budget. Keep in mind that we currently do budget the money for the flat top in the department with its streets. I think it's 13 Skyline property is how it's listed. So the utilities for that are listed separately, but the utilities on the other town buildings have, this brings us more in line with where we'll finish up this year. And I want to bring your attention to the computer services. I've got a breakdown of that. Let me
And that was the one that caught my eye.
Yes. So, and Sheila, please interrupt if I miss anything or misspeak. This current year is the last year of our lease on our computers with Shoshin. Because of accounting requirements, anytime you go into leases, it is a nightmare, and our auditor, both past and present, have told us, do not lease the equipment going forward. You need to purchase it outright because of the auditing requirements and the pain in the tail that is to audit. So this year we have in the budget, so that the MIP software, which is my software for accounting, we are moving into the cloud this year. And we're also getting a couple of modules that will allow me to get away from writing checks and do EFTs and that sort of thing. So that's part of that is the $14,000. And some of that's a one-time fee, and about $5,000 of that is a reoccurring fee each year. So $94,895 is for the new equipment and security upgrades with Shoshin. So that's where the bulk of that is coming from. $59,568 is the monthly service. The voice over, isn't that what, VO? That's the phones. Yeah, the phones. That's $7,300. That's recurring. And of course, we have Laserfish that Sheila uses and ClearGov, the finance software. The Laserfish is $7,100. The ClearGov is $4,950. And then we have the Civic Plus for the code supplements. That's $45.98. And the agenda software is $5,400. And then the Civic Plus website is $3,760 for a total of $205,513. But like I said, the bulk of that, the $94,000, is the purchase of the equipment.
Shoshin used to replace, every 3 years, I guess we had the equipment updated and the server. Well, we have extended that out to 5 years, and we're now at the point that the server is starting to have failing
Okay.
parts. So it can't be put off another year, so they have to come in and replace the server, replace the desktops. But the server, since the MIP, the finance software will be in the cloud, we can now use the server in the cloud.
Yeah.
No longer.
Right,
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay.
That's perfect.
But it's, traditionally, we've done this before, every 3 years, 4 years, but we keep on putting a year extension. And we're starting to get the work order.
We're not amortizing the software at all either, are we? We're not amortizing the software over the life of the lease or anything? I mean, it's being purchased. We're not
Yes, sir, correct.
amortizing it at all.
Correct,
It's
correct,
out of date the day you put it in.
correct.
Yeah, okay, all right. And the hardware. Okay.
This question is kind of tangentially related, but it's regarding utilities. Has there been consideration? I mean, I look at the roof lines, on all of the buildings here and the sun angle and everything else, of putting in some sort of solar generation capability and using some grants possibly to do it. So in other words, to bring the utility costs down. I don't know if there's long-term consideration for that.
The manager said that we can certainly look into it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because the sun angle is phenomenal, and on, on other buildings,
Right.
multiple buildings here in town, associated with the town we own,
Yes, sir.
and generating that revenue, generating that power would be kind of like first of all, a green thing, but yet bringing our utility costs down
Right. Yes, sir.
and using grants to do it if possible.
Yes, sir.
Do they put any solar on the new EMS station? Does anybody know? I don't know. Ed, do you know? None? Okay. Good point.
Does anyone have any questions on the administration budget? Did I answer your questions?
Does the equipment upgrade include the equipment that is here in the Pitt Center?
Yeah.
So you guys are satisfied with how this equipment
It's
is?
a desktop computer.
Okay,
All of this we purchased off of the grants, the GovEd grant.
yeah.
So much equipment each year. If there's something that you would like.
No, I'm just from a staff perspective, are you guys satisfied with when you have to come in here, as often as we do, with
Right.
what you have to work with in terms of its reliability and
When it works.
so on and so forth?
When it works.
Okay,
And we do have 5,000 in the current year that we haven't spent, and we also have 5,000 for next year just for the equipment over here at the Pitt Center. So
We did put it.
we did put in for this 5 minutes.
okay. Well, it's just something, I guess, for you guys to consider as a staff, whether you think you have what you need to provide the services to the public in terms of what we do over here. Okay.
I mean, within some of the regulations of current TV, I guess you can't now spend all of that $5,000 on equipment. You have to spend, in essence, doing productions, videography and whatever else. So there's now a breakout that some of that money cannot be used percentage-wise for equipment.
While I'm up here, I'm going to go over the contracted services budgets because each department head is going to go over their own. So if you will turn to page 11 in the budget packet, that is our sanitation, and that is all contracted service. And when we reached out to Bay, they told us it was going to be a 6% increase. That's what's reflected here. And we also have an increase on the limb and branch removal. If you remember, he was under a 2-year contract, this being the second year of his contract. So he set these prices 2 years ago, and he, brought me in a list of all of the increased, costs to him for dumping the chips, the fuel, trying to have higher labor, et cetera. So the increase there for him is about 14%, which the CPI adjustment over the past 2 years, that is in line with that. So does anybody have any questions on the sanitation department? On page 12. Do you want? Okay, let's skip to, the 13 is the ocean rescue. So we're under a contract with Sandusky Ocean Rescue. This is the contract price this year for $229,245. And I think we have a couple more, this year and next year, under that contract. And while I'm here on page 14, the cemetery fund, that is just an in and out. We have a software license that we have to pay for annually for that. And beautification, that consists of anything that the Public Works Department has to do as far as if we need any rock or, grass seed or that sort of thing. That comes from there. But as you can see, as of June 30 of 23, the balance in the cemetery fund was $92,244. The money can only be used for things in the cemetery. So, any other questions?
Back to the fire. It
Yes.
seems, does the increase continue to increase percentage-wise or contract with the fire department?
I'm gonna bring the chief up here.
I'm
Chief,
just
will you-
curious.
Chief Limbach's going to talk.
Yeah, Chief
They'll
Limbacher's
talk
gonna
about it. Okay. I'm
come
just
talk
curious
about
how-
that.
How it multiplies.
We'll go to him right now on page 12.
Okay,
Chief Limbacher will come and,
thanks. I just want to understand it.
and if you have any other questions for me, let me know.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, Chief.
There is no annual increase. It's not built into that. When the previous town manager and I did the contract, it was based on, before it was based on tax rate. And the previous town manager did not like that because there wasn't, for lack of a better word, as much control over it. He wanted me to be more like a department head and come and present the budget and then have the meeting before the actual budget workshop so he could say yes or no and then take it to council. And that's pretty much how we've been doing it
Okay.
so far.
Just curious if there was some kind of plateau or.
No, in the contract, I think we're 4
It
years.
goes on for how long? I'm just.
We're in, I think we're 4 years into the 10-year contract.
10-year, oh, okay. Wow.
Yep.
All right, cool.
And a lot of that was based on the new station and how we funded that and
Yeah.
everything went on there.
Okay.
A lot of things got changed during that time to fund a new building.
So at 10 years, the debt will be paid off for the construction?
No.
Like, no.
I wish it
It's
was.
a contract. That's what I was
Yeah.
getting at. Is that a
The-
30-year note or something like that?
It's a 25-year.
25? Okay.
So it's really, it's an in and out thing for us. That's not part of our budget. We get the check in January and in July.
Right.
It's more like when we get the invoice for the building, 78 some odd thousand.
Yeah.
We ship it to Bonnie.
Bonnie
She
pays
emails
it.
a check back and we just
Got
an in and out thing for us.
Okay.
Our real operating budget's like seven something. I don't have it right in front of me, but I can pull it back up.
Well, for one, I'm still pleased with the way it works.
Thank you.
Seriously, yeah, I mean, it couldn't be better. Most municipalities around here, I think they're jealous of the fact that we have a volunteer fire department that works so well. That's my opinion.
I do get some pushback for that, believe me, but
Yeah,
I had emailed the mayor and Cliff as well, and I do struggle with that all the time, trying to keep costs low.
yeah.
But the time will come. I always preface this, the time will come where it's all dependent on these young guys and the older population kicking in. So I don't want to put water on the fire right now, but
Keep
I'm just,
recruiting.
yeah, we'll do the best we can, but
It's good, thank you.
any other questions while I'm up here?
So you've always got a change in here from last year to this year. Can you talk about the 130,000 some odd?
Yeah,
Yeah.
6.2 of it, let's go through quick here.
Mhm.
Just the nuts and bolts of it. 6.2 is just your average increase for utilities. The things that other department heads really don't have on their budget, which would be like gas, things like that, IT, where it is included on the fire department budget. If you actually took all that out plus the truck loan, I think the operating costs are like 658. That's the true operating costs. So the basic majority of our increase is adding the third position to just take some weight off Matt and I. And I had many meetings with the mayor and the town manager to explain necessity for that. And it's just, I'm going to be honest with you, just too much for two people to handle anymore. It just cannot be done. No other chief's doing this, what we're doing. So the third chief will relieve a little stress on Matt and I. And then also during those daylight hours where it's very, very, I get worried about it, he'll be in here on daylight to make sure the truck gets out quick. That's really what he's for.
So your plan is to post a position and recruit and hopefully get somebody on board this calendar year?
Not this year, July 1, this calendar year.
This calendar
the next fiscal
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
July
yeah.
1, yes.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Do you by chance have someone in mind?
I may.
Okay. Just curious.
I will guarantee you this, it will be a great fit if this gentleman can take it. I wouldn't,
Familiar in the field, obviously?
very,
Okay, wow. Okay,
a well-known entity.
well known.
Mhm.
Is he in this room?
It's you, Mark.
Chief Cole denied.
Well,
I tried Chief
looking
Cole, he
around
denied
there.
it, so
I
that's
was
where
just
we're
checking
at.
everybody.
Just for kind of getting the education out there, we currently have, as I understand it, in the fire department, 4 paid positions, 2 full-time, 2 part-time. Is that correct?
Yes, right now, that's
Okay.
correct.
So you're proposing to add 1 new full-time position. And if something were to, if we were to fall off the cliff and have to build up a fire department, basically, what kind of price tag would we be talking about adding to the budget?
I mean, I've talked to Bonnie a lot about this, and I was comfortable saying 1.5. She's saying 1.8 for 12.
1.8 million.
That would be 12 firefighters, which would be 3 shifts around the clock. And in my emails, look, that might be what it comes to, but then that's a 4-man engine crew, that's it. Because the volunteer component will fade. That's just the way it is. I don't care. You could be the best chief in the world. It just, for some reason, the combination thing just is very hard to get together. And it has fallen off in Duck and all the other places as well. They have some, but not what we have. So I'm really trying to fight pretty hard against that, because once you kind of lean that way, it's gonna tumble quick.
Yeah, if, God
No.
forbid, he threw the keys on the table today, we'd have to go out and hire 12. And the reason that is there'd be 4 on 3 A, B, and C shifts. They each work 24 hours. So it'd be 24 on, 48 off. And you, at a minimum, have to hire 12.
And that would still be, the term throw the keys on it. It would still be with a chief, whether it was me or somebody else, it would be your choice, but you'd still have to have the positions we currently have.
Yes.
It would be in addition to, I mean, you
Right,
still have to
right,
have someone to actually run this thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So just, again, in the interest of education, so 1.8 million, 1 cent on your ad valorem tax gets us 170,000
Yes.
roughly.
Right.
So anyone who wants to do the math can, what that would represent in terms of what we'd have to
That's
increase our operating costs.
Almost 8 cents.
Yeah, so, again, just for the purpose of getting that out there, educating folks. Thank you.
And that was just bare minimum, 12.
that's right.
Is that-
Because you essentially staff for 4 and an engine, but someone's always off, someone's sick, someone's this. You
Exactly.
always have those, and you know
Vacation.
better than any of us. You're always going to have some issue with some person that's got something going on in their personal life that's
Yep.
obviously more important than the job, I would hope.
Yeah.
So,
Is that something, Elizabeth, that should be communicated more to the community? Because I think just in case, Ed did come in, throw his keys on the table, and we had to hire 12 firefighters and whatever else. I mean, this is a whole cost avoidance thing.
Mhm.
And I think the citizens of the town need to understand and constantly be reminded. There's been articles in the Harvard Business Review about communicating that and communicating that and communicating that again is huge, and it's going to take time. And then again, some people still won't get it. But the whole point that I'm trying to say is to say, look, we've got, volunteer firefighters here who are doing a phenomenal job. And that if we have to go to a professional service, it's going to increase your tax base by X amount of dollars. And stating that in any communication coming out from the town, I think is huge.
I did send a letter out last year, maybe a little previous to this, maybe definitely in the first quarter. I didn't get as drastic. I have the drastic letter typed up. I watered it down a bit because I didn't want to, I'm not in crisis mode. I didn't want to panic anybody, but I do try, and everyone that's here has heard me say, look, I don't know when this is going to end. We'll enjoy it as long as we can, but I'm just telling you, it could end as far as tomorrow. There's probably 4 or 5 key people that they would leave, we would be in trouble.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. And that's the way it was at home, even when I was back in
And
Pittsburgh.
honestly, that's the way it would be if the whole staff were currently professional. It's the same thing.
Sure.
If you lose 4 or 5 key people, you're in a big bind.
I think that we got, with Matt and I and this addition of this new guy, the right players in place to hopefully take care of any big issues. I don't think that that's on the horizon yet, but again, I can't guarantee. I'm just not that dumb. I wouldn't give you a guarantee like that. So I can certainly send another letter out if you want. I mean, I can just reiterate a lot of what we said last time that I sent Sheila and they sent out. But I'm going to be honest with you. In my opinion, most people aren't listening until the back tax bill comes.
I agree. I
It
agree with
is-
continually reminding them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
tell
just-
people all the time. so.
Continually brainwashing.
Exactly.
I'm being honest, brainwashing.
I really liked your letter last year, so I would encourage you to consider that again personally.
Yeah, certainly. I can
thought
put
it was
that out
great.
again, no problem.
I mean,
Yeah, I can
and
probably,
this is tactical, but almost putting it in a little text box, out there in your letter. And then that becomes highlighted and it becomes a focus for people when they look at it.
you want me to actually put the tax, because I actually have it. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
bing,
Yeah.
bing.
that's fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you can make it flash.
Yeah.
Well, and
No,
maybe
I'm not that
the,
good at the IT, but I'm sure Sheila can take
Put
care of
little
it.
flames around it. No, no.
but maybe the, yeah,
No,
but-
no, not that.
but maybe the communication needs to come from somebody besides the chief.
We'll put it in our newsletter.
Because that could, like from the mayor or some note of recognition of the valuable service played by these volunteers in our community. I'm just throwing.
We can do
Elizabeth into-
both. We can do
I can
both.
certainly say, I'll send it to Cliff and he can send it out or disseminate it any way he feels fit, he
that's
feels
fine.
necessary.
Well, it's just like a catastrophe.
Well,
We have
it
a fund-
definitely-
We have a fund for a catastrophe.
It
that we
definitely
don't
would be.
touch. That's a looming catastrophe.
Yeah,
at
it
some
definitely
point
would
down
be.
the road.
Absolutely. It's
So,
literally
I mean,
going off the fiscal cliff.
We need to,
And just like if we have a direct hit from a hurricane, it would be very similar. It's a potential emergency situation. It just happens to be a fiscal emergency.
I would say this though, not all on the frowning side of things, and I'm not really a glasses half full person, but we have done a lot with the support of the town. I've built what we need so we can just move forward. If this would have been 5 years ago or 6 years ago, you would be talking another 6 or 7 million, probably 12 million now for a building, because the old building wouldn't housing me. So you have taken the necessary steps to prepare it. So the equipment and the infrastructure is there, but you'd have to pay for the personnel. So, I mean, it's not all that bad news, so.
Anybody else have anything for Chief Limbacher?
just thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Well,
We will
thank you.
continue to communicate to our folks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Back up to planning, I think was the next. Planning is on page 7. It's actually from the amended budget, present budget to the requested budget, there's about $11,000 decrease in the planning budget. This is about as bare bones as a department as we have. And so unless y'all have any questions for Wes, or anything pops out, then I don't know that he needs to go line by line.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing in the planning department? Wes?
Good morning, Mayor, members of council.
morning.
We're doing well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for asking. Staying busy. The numbers, permit numbers have gone down or starting to slow down as compared to last year,
Okay.
especially the year before. But otherwise, we are still busy. We still have plenty going on. Yeah, we're getting ready to start the process of updating the hazard mitigation plan. I think I reported that to you all
Yeah.
at last month, this last regular meeting. As Cliff put it so eloquently, he's not very much exciting in our proposed budget. Overall, we doing well.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all you guys do in the planning department.
Yeah, and Wes, do you have the same tools that the other towns here have?
I think like Nags Head, I know that they have more GIS, their own GIS equipment. We contract GIS services out for things that we can't do in-house, like with Dare County GIS or ARC Online. But I think either Kidovo Hills, Nags Head, they may have their own large printer scanner for like large size copies, plans, scanning, things like that. The largest we can copy or scan or print is 11 by 17. And so if we have to make copies or scan construction plans or whatever, we'll take it to an outside vendor to do that. But otherwise, I think we have everything we need.
Okay.
And I'll just say Citizen Serve, the online permitting software that we've been using for a few years now, I think is great. I mean, I think the property owners, contractors, they utilize it quite often. We use it almost all day, every day, the permit officer especially. It's really been a great tool for us to use, the permitting software.
That's really good to hear.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it so
Thank y'all.
much.
Thank y'all.
Just want to let y'all know.
Next, with the police department, they also have a decrease of about $108,000. I don't know that anything here really will jump out. But again, if it does, police chief's here to answer any questions.
Looks like all the savings is in capital. So we need just less new equipment? I'm just curious. I mean, looks like here the big savings are.
So most of that, as you'll see, the vehicles, we had to do a budget amendment this year because the vehicles were late getting here. That was
Yeah.
ordered prior year.
Yep.
So that's why it was 199 this year.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And then you can see the equipment for the 174,931, that was a one-time deal for them.
Okay.
That was the radios, right, Chief?
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually, for this upcoming budget, we were locked in, even though we haven't officially purchased them, 2 more vehicles at the same price, because I had already shared with everyone across the state, they went up 38%,
Wow.
these vehicles. So we locked in and got 2 more that they'll make and hold for us, but he says, you don't take them. He says, I've already got them sold like 10 times over, so, yeah.
Is there anything coming down from the state that the police departments have to start buying electric vehicles? So anything?
After I retire, they can do whatever they want.
I will say the police
I'm curious.
lobby.
I was just curious, yeah. I mean, if there's any kind of mandates or
Maybe
even
the sheriff's
in the
department
legislature.
Silver papers.
Yeah, civil detectives types of things and that, even back home, they went to like back in the day, in the
Yeah.
80s with the K cars. But
Okay,
as far as law enforcement and something like that,
no,
like when I was first here, a couple years into here, I was ordered to check into a Toyota Prius for a patrol vehicle, which I was ordered to do it and I did it. First of all, Toyota said as soon as you plug any kind of emergency equipment into it, void the warranty. By the time you put all the equipment in it, you barely got room for the driver, let alone a prisoner in the back. And the problem with the electric vehicles, these vehicles are on 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And a lot of departments, like back home, they're on 24/7. You know, one shift gets done and they just go and trying to plug in vehicles and stuff like that.
I'll get there one day, but I don't think they're there.
Well, you need to get the grid up to snuff first before you
Wonder if
even
there's
think
anything on
about
the
that kind of
horizon.
stuff. There is a little bit of an addition. We're going to be making a decision in end of April. And you'll see us, we're going to finally put a third sergeant in. We've been holding off on that for a while, but we're pretty confident that we've got that pretty much filled.
Then that's not a new position.
No,
No, that's just a,
that's just, we're
Internal.
finally filling that.
okay.
yes.
How many positions are we still down?
We have two still. And I think I had explained to you that Tucker will be graduating here pretty soon. And then we're going to look at possibly just sending two more through the academy. So far it's worked out pretty well for us.
So, but you budgeted a full force?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Anybody have any more questions for Chief?
Well, I guess the same question I had for Wes. Compared to the other towns in Dare County, do you have, adequate resources?
Yeah, we're in pretty good shape. You know, there's always additional toys that you would like to have, but the things that we really need, I think we've been very fortunate that the town has assisted us in getting those types of things.
Okay.
The only thing we'll be purchasing, which I think we're going to purchase out of this budget and to help lower our equipment budget, is we had purchased in North Carolina, you have to record certain arrests, felonies and all types of things. And I had gotten a grant several years ago, but that equipment is pretty much outdated now. So we're going to be purchasing a new software, hardware and we're going to get it in a mobile setup so that we can move it different places. The one that we had was initially set up in one interview room that was designated by the state and it had to be recorded. So we're going to be purchasing a new interview software, hardware system for about $15,000 to $20,000.
I was so impressed last year with the training that you guys did in the school, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would just encourage you to
Already budgeted for.
take all the training opportunities that are out there, because I think that really pays dividends in the end.
Yeah, we have the same company coming back and we're going to try to even involve more of the departments on the beach as well, too.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief Cole. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
what your
Thank you.
folks do for our town.
So next would be streets, bridges, beaches and canals. And in that budget, you'll see the 3.4, the 24-25 infrastructure that we talked about at the beginning. That's where that is located. So there's $750,000 jump in that budget. But I think everything else
So
is,
Cliff, just answer me something on the canals. I'm just curious.
oh,
If there's unimproved lots and the trees are hanging halfway across the canal, who's responsible for trimming those trees?
if the trees are,
Unimproved lot.
the homeowner, the property owner, the homeowner,
Yeah,
the property owner.
somebody owns it, but
Yeah.
there's no structure on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
They are.
And the tree is halfway over the canal.
If it's attached to the property,
Yeah,
then it's the homeowner's
it's the homeowner's
responsibility.
responsibility. Okay,
Is that right? I mean, if it's
okay. Or not homeowner, but the
property
property owner.
owner. There is no
Property owner.
homeowner, property owner, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
all right.
I think we had that situation recently somewhere kind of off of, well, across the canal from Fairway. We had a
Yep.
property owner and they were actually very responsive to getting their tree taken care of. But yeah, if you know of anyone, you
So
should,
we
you should
notify them.
definitely let staff know, and then we write them a
We notify
letter.
them, we let,
Wes sends a letter explaining.
explaining what, and then they, okay, cool. I didn't know how that worked.
We also have the town engineer here to answer any questions about some of these projects.
The $150,000 for the multi-use path maintenance and repair, where specifically is that?
Joey, did you bring the areas we're going to bid for NC-12? Or can you speak to generally where the segments are?
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Morning.
So we currently have a survey from East Dogwood to Hillcrest. And so there's a 5-foot walking path that's proposed to be on the west side to sort of mirror what we've done from Ocean Boulevard to East Dogwood. So we have a path on both sides, but not a full multi-purpose path width. So it's just a 5-foot walking path. And so we have that survey data, which also included the existing multi-purpose path located on the east side of NC-12, which has starting to get some age on it. And I also do provide engineering consulting services for the town of Duck. And if you've paid attention and you're driving back and forth, we have systematically been replacing sections of the asphalt path that have degradation due to age and also root intrusion, which is a trip hazard, and some edge of path failure. So if you look at the path from the new fire station all the way up to the town line, if you look at that asphalt, that existing asphalt multi-purpose path, it's in bad shape in a lot of places. And so there's some, it's within the NCDOT right away, but the town of Southern Shores has an agreement to maintain it. So all the trip hazards and edge failures and things like that, although you're not necessarily financially responsible for it, you probably will see a quicker resolution if you spend your own money to fix it. And my recommendation, the same recommendation I made to the town of Duck, is to replace it with concrete, which has a much longer life expectancy. It's easier to replace section by section versus to have a special asphalt paving equipment come in and do it all at one time. It's a rigid pavement, reflects light better, has a lower albedo for people concerned about heat. So, and generally the life expectancy is a lot longer, like 50 to 70 years versus asphalt, which we'll see maybe 20 years out of that. So at any rate, the overall project is, what we're currently bidding is skyline and some path repairs within the Chickasaw subdivision, which is Trinity Trail, Chickasaw Trail, and Spindrift. Yes, thank you. So we're doing some repairs in there and some ADA compliance upgrades where we're putting the tactile surfaces at all the intersections. And then in the fall, we would bid repairs to the 8-foot multi-purpose path. Currently, we have plans for the section from 3rd Street to 5th Street. And then also in that package would be bidding the 5-foot walking path from East Dogwood all the way up to Hickory or Hillcrest? Hickory, thank you. So, and then in the meantime, we would also engineer plans for repairing all the sections of the 8-foot multi-purpose path from East Dogwood up to to Hickory, to the northern limits of the survey. But I'm not sure you can afford all that. Each section we do in Duck is a couple $100,000 a section. So I'm going to engineer the plans in like 2 block sections so that they'll provide lump sums in the bid for each section. And if we need to pare back the workload to meet the budget, we can do so.
So linearly, what does a section equate to?
I think each block is about 330 feet or so
Okay.
between the numbered streets. But when you get from like Periwinkle to, I can't remember the name of the street to the north of it, First Street, somewhere in there, that's a pretty long section. There's also a section that's in the bottom of the super elevation of NC 12 as you go around the corner.
Mhm.
You'll be familiar with it because it's a low spot, holds stormwater. It also gets a lot of the raveled asphalt, like cinders. Or the edge of pavement has a rut where people go off the edge of pavement and then all the cinders get kicked up on the path. So that section is a little trickier. And I would pair the path improvement with some stormwater improvement within the right of way. So that particular section might be last because that would require us to get some permitting through NCDOT and some corroboration on design work. And we're also working in an area that's encumbered with underground utilities. So it complicates the design of whatever we do there. But something needs to happen there, whether it's a curb out at the edge of pavement to keep people on the pavement. I'm not sure. I've been thinking about it in my subconscious, but I haven't come up with anything that I would want to get us married to. So that's the path.
Okay.
The path projects and the limits of that. I'm trying to structure the bid documents in such a way that they can bid on lump sums of parts. And that way, if the total number comes out to be more than you've budgeted, we can take sections out and say, we're just going to put those on the shelf until next year.
Sounds good.
This comment is not necessarily budget related, and I know sidewalks are a huge controversy. I want to get into that. But the way I look at sidewalks is that it's metaphorically, it's in essence a circulatory system and a nervous system for the community. Besides, Chief over there, Chief Cole, besides the safety issue. And meeting your neighbors and creating a sense of community just by the circulation around sidewalks and having people meet each other is huge. And, to keep that character within Southern Shores, I think is something that is more aspirational, not budget-wise, but more aspirational. But the metaphor is circulatory system and a nervous system. And I think that really does help the community.
They're my favorite projects because they're the least contentious. Almost everyone appreciates, the use of a sidewalk project. It makes it safer for people to walk, to bicycle, all those things. And we've been able to do it in such a way to have as minimal impact on trees and things like that. And everybody loves that. They're the least contentious.
Good.
Any other questions for Joe? No. Thanks, Joe.
Probably for Cliff.
Oh, probably for
As
Cliff.
we do these projects, or we plan them around the grant cycle too?
Yes,
Okay, they only allow so much per year.
correct.
So, we want to make sure we're in the right grant cycle with the tourism board.
Yes.
Because I noticed on here, I'm looking at sidewalks on page 28, and for East Dogwood to Hickory, the grant of 118 is what we're thinking about.
That's what we got.
That's East Dogwood to Hickory. Okay, so we have that, so we're planning that out. So as we plan the other ones, just want to make sure within that small window they do when they do the reviews.
At this point, we will have, once the Skyline's done, once East Dogwood to Hickory is done, we don't have another sidewalk on the books to go to. So that's something we would have to talk about. You all told us to survey
Right,
all the way to Hillcrest.
right.
So that survey data will be done. The next phase could be Hickory to Hillcrest.
Right.
But other than that, we'll
Okay.
have to go back and.
I just want to make sure we don't miss that opportunity because there's a lot of people begging for money, as you know, in that grant cycle. And that rightfully so was supposed to be, used by the whole county. So we're doing that. The other question I have is, I still don't understand, who owns the sidewalks in Chickahaw properties?
That is.
Is it the property owners or is it the cities?
The best I can tell, the way the sidewalks were put in Chickahaw, back in the late 90s, the Chickahaw Properties Association came to the town and said, can we put sidewalks here, here, and here? The town said yes. And then they were put in. And there's an agreement, the memorandum of agreement that the Chickahaw property owners will take care of the sidewalk. They'll maintain it. They'll cut the grass. They'll take care of the leaves. They'll deal with the bulkheads. But they don't own the sidewalks in the town right away. And so
Right.
there's no legal ownership or description that entitled or, they can't sell it. There's nothing to sell. Because they're in the town right away, unlike the past that we put in NC 12, there's an encroachment agreement that clearly spells out we're responsible. There really is, it just says that they will maintain it. Now, what we're doing is trying to get a cost that we can take to them and say, they've asked us to take over the maintenance of the sidewalks. And so we're trying to get a cost together to ask them to contribute to that. But if they were to say, we're not going to maintain them anymore, they're in our right of way and they're ours. We're kind of stuck with it, but we're still trying to work. As you know, they're going through some issues and we're trying to figure out the best outcome for those sidewalks, but they're not in great shape.
They're horrible shape.
So that would come as an expense.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
No,
I don't know how the Chickasaw property owners, what do they own? When I think of ownership, there's a deed, there's a title,
I think they own the parks and the land, that they have lots of land.
yeah, but every one of those sidewalks is in the town right away. So, I don't know how we could,
Okay,
if someone got hurt, I don't know that we could waive liability. They're in our right of way. But there's an agreement, there is an agreement that they'll maintain them. They're asking to get out of that agreement. That's about the only, there's no speak of ownership,
so
but
that
there is
would
a
come to the
maintenance.
council though.
So we're
they
still
wanted to get out of that,
talking
yeah.
to them about this whole
Right.
agreement. How do we want to go forward with the sidewalks that are in Chickahook?
That's right.
There's
And,
some-
and is- to your knowledge, to staff's knowledge, has there ever been an incident on the Chickahook sidewalks that anyone has ever said anything to us about? Yes. Okay. So, okay,
Anybody, while we're on the subject? Okay.
okay.
Okay,
That's sidewalks.
that's the sidewalks.
What's left?
Talk about the stormwater?
Mhm.
Okay, so.
You do have a new president now.
Yeah,
This is.
that should help.
Yeah, she's reasonable.
Thank you,
Sorry,
sir.
sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Somebody can tell us where stormwater is in our book?
There was, back to sidewalks, there's still, we had talked, the only other one we had talked about, the chief reminded me, I forgot, was tying in on Juniper Trail. It's so that the sidewalk is all the way on the east side, all the way out to the bypass instead of switching over. And so that's
Right.
still a to do.
That's on our future list,
Yes.
not a current list. Okay.
Okay.
So what's in front of you is a resolution that we need you all to adopt that allows us to move forward on an application to the NCDEQ for 3 stormwater projects. And these are the well, 2, I'll say 3 stormwater projects. The 2 being, or the 2 big ones being the project at NC 12 and Sea Oats. And you'll see that the town of Duck has up to Charles Jenkins Lane. So we share some of that stormwater issue, and the town of Duck is interested in working, and I think they're going to hear this resolution at their council meeting tomorrow. And so that project, because we're coupling with another town, we can go from, the award's $5 million, we could be eligible for 7.5. And so that, Joe can explain the project and what is entailed in that. But the other project being what we've talked about at Wax, Myrtle, and Hickory. And then there is an opportunity for money to replace the culvert. DEQ doesn't like culverts. They'd rather see a cord slab bridge. We could, make a connection to the stormwater improvements that to the road and the runoff into the canal. And so forth. So we're going to attempt that as well. When we spoke to the program manager for this grant, he encouraged us to apply for all three, which typically you would pick one of the three, but we're going to make an application for each. It's 3 separate applications, but one resolution should. And this just allows us to move forward. It means that you're in support of us moving forward. It doesn't tie your hands to anything. It doesn't encumber any funds, but it just shows your willingness to support staff's efforts.
And are we going to be working in conjunction with the town of Duck?
Yes, ma'am.
So would the grant be written to both
It would.
municipalities? Okay,
Yeah, that grant, we would both sign.
okay. And the due dates on these grant applications?
April 30th.
Oh, and the award dates on the grant?
I don't know if it's, I'll find out. I
Okay.
don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry.
I'm just curious. Okay,
There's grants, and then there's also the opportunity for a low interest loan, which, we're obviously going to play for the grant, but the best of my understanding, there's no match for this, which is rare.
okay.
But no, I'll say, there's no match required. Now, just like the Tourist Bureau, you ask for $1 million, they give you 500, you got to come up with the rest. But again, those are decisions you'll be presented with and be able to decide whether or not you want to move forward with the
Okay.
expense.
And NCDOT is not playing any role in the COTS 12 discussions?
To date, they don't recognize it as a problem,
Huh,
meaning it's not on their to-do list. It's not on their radar of issues and problems to fix. But now when we get deeper into this, we may have more, Joe may have more evidence to compel them that, hey, we do need to participate more in this.
wondering if the town of Duck and the town of Southern Shores could join together and sort of make DOT aware of the problems that we have at that intersection. And maybe, I don't know, a combined letter from the two councils. I mean,
Or that, or maybe when we get a better idea of the project, maybe we can meet. Maybe we get the District 1 engineer here, put a little pressure.
well, I know Mr. Bridges is coming to the next book club GAM.
Oh, yeah.
He's the
bridge,
he's the featured speaker.
Mid-Currituck Bridge.
Yeah, talk about the Mid-Currituck Bridge. But I'm sure we can bend his ear
Yeah.
about some other ideas too.
Okay. Maybe we can meet then.
Okay, just an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I heard the mayor of Duck express some remorse about NCDOT not participating in a more robust way with their big project that they have right there in town on 12.
That was my question. Yeah.
And so I kind of think maybe they would be in the mood to, to at least raise our hand and say, hey, we need some help from NCDOT. That's their road, So anyway, just a thought.
So that is not an NCOD team north of Duck there. That was the town that did that.
Well, it was a combination of
FEMA
FEMA,
and-
town,
okay,
and
all
some
right.
DEQ grants.
I think so. I think they
but-
did. Couple.
To my knowledge, it was not NCDOT. They
Okay.
did not play a part, is what I was told. Which just seems like a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
oversight. It's their road. Sorry, I go on.
It's
Okay.
It's not uncommon.
They clear the road down south when it overwashes. This is stormwater. That's stormwater. This is stormwater.
I mean,
Anyway,
NC
that's an
12 is
argument for
NC
another
12,
day. Yeah.
north to south. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop being NC 12.
Right.
So anyway, okay, I go on. Okay, so basically what you're asking is for a motion to approve this resolution authorizing the town manager to execute and file an application on behalf of the town of Seven Shores with the state of North Carolina for a loan and/or a grant.
Yes, ma'am.
I will make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion by council? All right, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You have your authorized resolution. Thank you, staff, for bringing this to us.
All right. If that is, then we'll go to Public Works. Here again, there's about a $120,000 less requested over the amended. David's here if you have any questions. He's had a jump in equipment lease and maintenance. We're in the up cycle of the cost of maintenance and repairs. Sometimes you can go a few years, but right now we've hitting some life issues.
Yeah. What, Cliff, just shore stabilization, what does that entail? I'm just curious.
Good morning, David.
Hi, David. Come on up.
Come on up.
That's the $24,000 we get annually from Dare County for either beach grass or sand
Oh.
fence.
Okay, just
Yeah.
monitor? What?
No, it's interest off of the beach nourishment.
Oh,
fund,
okay.
And they'll give us 24,000. There's some parameters, but we can plant beach grass, we can plant.
So it's
sand
that
fence.
shore there. Okay,
Yes.
all right,
On
okay.
those, yes.
That's, okay. Cool.
Morning.
Morning.
So, and like he was saying about the equipment lease and maintenance, everything that could go wrong in the last, this fiscal year went wrong with our equipment. We had things break that, just normal wear and tear on equipment when you use it. And just everything seemed to line up this year that it all happened at the same time. So.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if there's other items, but if there's anything David wants to point out.
The maintenance on the 12 Skyline. I didn't, which budget is it? Is it in this one? Just upkeep? It's in where?
Streets and
Streets and
canals.
maintenance and streets?
You mean 13 Skyline?
13 Skyline.
Yeah,
I'm
that's,
sorry.
our flat top is in the streets, canals.
Okay,
not-
that's in
not
the
Public
streets.
Works.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
The money allocated for town buildings, maintenance and repairs,
Yeah, there it
there's
is.
a little bit of a jump there.
30.
What is, and I'm
Okay.
all for repairing the town buildings. But what's, I guess, let me just say, I hope part of that increase is for the entrance to the town. I just think the entrance to our town hall is just dreadful,
Shabby.
shabby,
Yeah, so.
and close to dangerous. I mean, it's not a very,
You could trip.
yeah, you could trip or fall through, or, I don't know.
The proposal that we're working on for the building security and upgrades will fix that.
Good.
And the file room.
Yeah, and the file room.
Okay.
But Paul's question is about it seems to be some up and down going on here between, all the fiscal years here that are shown. Can you just speak to, that up and down of that particular line item, town buildings, maintenance, repairs? In your budget, as opposed to,
Yeah.
Right there.
So had an increase on that this year. Some of that is we are having 13 Skyline, if we're having to take care of that. So a lot of that budget is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if these 4 units on this side of the building,
Okay.
when it gets hot and the air conditioner starts pumping,
Gotcha.
we don't know what's going to break. So a lot of that, we do get them serviced quarterly, like everything else, but a lot of that is just trying to prepare for what's going to happen. If that generator were to get struck by lightning, or when it's when it's running once a week, if it were to just fall apart,
Okay.
Things like that, some things to make minor repairs that we have planned around the town hall complex. A lot of it's, we don't know what might be coming for us with older buildings.
Okay. Recognition that the buildings are old,
Yes.
and some of the systems are also old. Yeah, and we live in a pretty harsh environment, and stuff stops working. Usually at the worst time.
Yeah, and the requested for 24, 25 was a decrease, but then
Yeah.
forecasted is increased.
Yeah.
So the forecasted, planning to replace that generator out there. It's
okay.
been out there since, what year was it installed? You were.
Here?
Yeah, it's been here quite some time.
Like 10, 15 years maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least. So
And you
it's
guys
fine.
test it periodically, right?
So we run it once a month as our
Yeah.
test, and then every Wednesday around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it cuts on and runs for about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay,
And that gets serviced about 4 times a year.
okay.
So
All right. Very good. Thanks. Appreciate it. Any other questions for David?
Just some general questions.
Okay.
No.
For Cliff?
This is for Cliff and town council, everyone.
Okay.
This is, I guess, aspirational. Is there any way that, first of all, in the Department of Defense, they had a thing called unfunded requirements. So it's called the UFR process, where you would actually come up with things that are not necessary, that you would like to fund, but don't have the funds to do it. And then it was up to decision makers to come up and, rack and stack them. And they use group decision support technology to do that. And we did it at the National Defense University. Here's my point. If funds became available through grants or whatever else, and that we had a priority list of things that are not funded in the budget, but are aspirational, that we would have, in essence, that kind of listing ahead of time, and that we could have those things racked and stacked in priority order. And maybe that is part of a budget process that I don't know about, so I claim my ignorance on that. But the whole point of doing that, I think, is it prepares us to immediately execute if in fact funds do become available through some sort of mechanism. 2, the notion of using automated group decision support technology, we may be able to get a grant or, through UNC or the League of Municipalities or something like that, and experiment with it to see what the priorities are within, the community. I mean, we can use SurveyMonkey and all that kind of stuff too. But also within the key decision makers within the town. And then, take that for a test drive over a few cycles and see if it works and see if in fact we can do those kinds of things. I mean, the reason I say this is long-term vision for the town.
Right.
I was walking around Duck the other day, and I'm looking at the architecture. I'm looking how everything is kind of somewhat connected. Do we want to have a kind of a long-term vision? I mean, even when I come in and go in the back door of Town Hall over there, I'm thinking of Skyline Drive and, could that be in essence a place for a multi-use path of some sort to kind of come down into town property so you can access the different shopping centers back and forth? And, all of this community to have it somewhat linked. All of those things, I know I'm going over with multiple things in this statement, but something that we need to consider, and in other words, prepare the town for this kind of long-term vision. And understanding, like what Paul Mulkey said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah. We have a capital improvement plan that's kind of been a draft, working draft that we've had for a few years that includes, the fact that one day we're going to need a new town hall. And now that we've acquired 13 Skyline, there's master planning to be done.
Right.
Like you mentioned, we've got a line, these are line items with no money, a land bank, other than this, is there an opportunity for the town to acquire some land when it becomes available? And where do we fund that? We've got in there the recognition of the fire department that one day you're going to have a big hit for salaries. So I'll include a draft of that. So it's, out there when I present the budget in May.
Okay, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, we did a mini version of that
Right.
a couple,
2 years ago.
2 years ago about sidewalks.
Right, I know.
And
remember.
we threw it out there and we kind of, and then we just sort of said, what are priorities? And so, yeah, it's always a good idea to long-term.
I'm just thinking of having
Yeah.
group decision software that can be used in a multiplicity of different functions. Also, I mean, we used it at the National Defense University, and some of the best commentary came out of enlisted people who were involved in the process, not the generals and admirals.
We have lots of generals and admirals right here in
I know.
town. We probably have some enlisteds as well.
Yeah.
No, we never shy away from getting input from the folks here in town. We do that, I think, as good as anyone. But we can always do better.
That's besides regular maintenance that goes on regularly, just like canal maintenance and everything. I mean, we got the fund, but it would nowhere near cost what it would cover anything what would cost. But we never brought it together under one place. And that's, I mean, we've got it in the head and it's on these pieces of paper.
Yeah.
It is. It's probably not a bad idea. Let's pull it all
And
together.
then projecting that vision to the citizens, and they have to be socialized into it long-term.
The other thing we can touch on in that CIP is recognition of the fact that eventually there'll be a decision made as to whether or not you're going to continue beach nourishment projects. And the cost of that has to be accounted for as well. We've got this year and next year, I think, and we're done with this payment of this project. Hopefully we can go 7 years, but 7 years is 4 years away.
Yeah. Number one, I think general comments, I guess, is where we're at right now. Is that
I don't know. Are we
Yeah,
there?
We've hit what we,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, so no members of the public are here.
So,
So yes, please start us off with council
number one,
comments.
I applaud the staff on being thorough. Number two, I like the way you're looking at next year as well, next fiscal year, 25, 26. Just thinking about it, a lot of the numbers are the same, but there was thought in some of the key areas. You could tell as you looked at what was thought there, but I do appreciate that. I think the income line is conservative compared to what I've seen in some other Dare County boards so far, what they're thinking the income's going to be off occupancy tax and meals tax. I think that's still a huge unmarked question right now. We can't tell. Most people would tell you that the spring's been soft.
right.
As far as all of that is concerned. So I think we still have to think about that. But in looking what we're forecasting, it looks like, Bonnie, you've been very conservative on the income side, which I think is the smart way to be. I'd rather be that way. And interest rates look like they're going to hold. So that's a nice give right now, but can't rely on that. So I think that's pretty smart. And what is a fully staffed town? I see there's 27 employees. What is a fully staffed town?
That would be it.
27 is fully
And right now
staffed?
it's 25.
20?
Yeah, just the two vacancies.
So
are
those numbers indicate total positions, whether,
funded.
Okay, there's 27
That's
total
correct.
positions
Right.
authorized today.
well, and I was sitting over there thinking about that, about the revenues, because I didn't really go over those.
Yeah.
But on on page 4, if you want to follow along, so so when we are budgeting for ad valorem taxes, we are not allowed to budget more than what the percentage of the collection rate was the prior year, which is usually 99.5, 99.65%. So I take our levy, our value and our tax rate, and then we are allowed to budget for about anywhere between 0.5 to 1% growth. So you'll see that there's a growth from this year to next year, and that's what that indicates. Now, on the shared revenues, on the occupancy, the sales tax, and the land transfer, as you can see, those have went. So the county, David Clausen, the finance director, and he's also the assistant county manager there. Each year, he predicts out for the municipalities according to the tax rate.
Yeah.
And the growth and that sort of thing, what they think we will collect. And those numbers he has always done a really good job with that. And just last year, I said, okay, I'm going to go with his numbers because those numbers have been pretty high and they went up pretty high, pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So what I'm seeing now to date is the occupancy and the sales tax, they're what I would call leveling out. We were about a 3% increase over the prior year on both. When I received last month's distributions and I look at the prior year, what I mean by that is we're almost neck and neck as to where we were last year. But also, as you'll see that our percentage of shared revenues, didn't it go up 0.02%, like 11.36 to 11.38? So next year, we're anticipating that because next year's distributions goes by what the tax rates were for this year that we're currently in.
Yeah.
So that's what affects that. But the one thing that I have been seeing a big decrease in is the land transfer. And we have budgeted that down, and it is going down each time. We only get those quarterly. So each time we get those, I have been seeing a reduction. But that's not a huge part of our budget, but still it is. And then the other thing, and Wes was saying about the building permits, they have started leveling out too on that. And we had a very strong, I would say, the first 7 months, but I've noticed that they've kind of leveled out a little bit too.
Does the county do their real estate reevaluation this year or next year?
Next year,
Do you
right?
know?
Yeah. Next year.
Next year.
Yes, sir.
Which would be effective 26, 27. Is that right? Okay.
Yes,
There's a
sir.
mixed bag in the county on how this year is going to be for tourism.
Right.
I mean, you got some folks that are pessimistic. You talk to anybody in the Hatteras area, and they are really pessimistic. Manio's pessimistic. Of course, everybody on the northern beaches isn't. So it's going to be a mixed year. It's hard to tell.
Right.
And I think everybody's looking at this as being a leveling year. Forget about 19 because everybody's using that as the model in the last
Right.
4 years. Maybe this will be our one to get our feet solidly on the ground and not just guess. It's been good. I think we're in a good position. That's just fine.
Right.
Okay. That's all I've got. Sorry, Mary.
Now, I don't know, are you want to go over any of
That's
this?
good.
No? Okay. Did you hand it out? Okay. And what we're talking about, he's going to email you. So what we have to do at the end of each year as, in the capital reserve fund, that is made up of money that is designated for canal maintenance, beach nourishment, and then the rest that's left over can be used for any capital project as you see fit. This is a conservative at the green are estimates, so we've just kind of kept them the same. So what we do is we take a percentage of sales tax for the MSDs each year and put that from the general fund into the capital reserve fund. So essentially, what we are anticipating at the end of the 5-year cycle for the beach nourishment, you'll have a little over $1 million in the fund. Now, remember,
I'm sorry, this is what you emailed you.
Yeah, you did yesterday. yeah.
yes, yes. So remember, at the beginning of the project, the council put $1 million in to help offset the MSD tax rates. So with the addition of the sales tax revenue, that sort of thing, it looks like we will probably end up at about the $1 million at the end of the project.
And other towns do the same thing of utilizing that, whatever is sort of not spent or whatever is gained from. input.
Right. So at the end of the 5 years, the council will decide, is it time for us to renourish or that sort of thing. But yes, that money can only be used for beach nourishment expenses.
Every town varies. I think at one point Duck may have had enough to do a project. Because, if you keep taxing, you'll build it. But, there's always the chance you don't do a project and then what do you do with that money?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of same things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can only be used for the purpose for which it was collected.
Right. But the council that's sitting at the point at which we get to the end of the project and retire the whole debt, the council then has the opportunity to evaluate what, if anything, to do with the MSDs.
Yeah, I will say though that it's clear direction we get from everyone that gives us direction about beach nourishment. Not take the tax completely off the books. If we're going to continue beach nourishment, we need to continue building a fund balance because we can't rely that we'll always have money from Dare County. It's pretty secure, that fund. But, the scenario, the ratio of 50% from the county and 50%, that may not last forever. We're either going to run out of sand or money. And right now it's like.
And
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think I've asked this question before, but let's say we have a horrible storm and we lose a bunch of beach. And then FEMA comes in, does their evaluation, tells us what they will cover and what they won't, because there's a portion that they would not cover, correct?
Yeah, they'll only cover what we can prove was lost to that storm. So
Okay.
that's why we survey.
Right.
And if you survey in May and you have a storm in July, then you can account for that
Okay.
loss.
Right. Okay.
But the timing of it matters too, because we can always nourish more. Let's say at that point we're $2 million shy of a full project, we lose 2 million cubic yards, we lose them, and I'm using horrible numbers. If we had lost 1 million cubic yards, we could have a project, they pay for half, we pay for the additional.
Okay. Any other council comments or questions about what we've talked about today?
Well, I would just say that I'm also impressed by the budgets that we have from every department. And I like taking a really conservative stance on what our revenues, because we just don't know. We might have an overflow of money and we might not. But I wanted to get a hard copy of what was emailed to us.
Okay.
Can we get that today? And this is just a minor point. But we're sitting here with $92,000 of money in the cemetery fund. It can only be used for the cemetery, but we're only spending $2,500 to beautify it. Maybe we should plan on spending a little bit more money, because it's not an unpleasant place to look at, but there's certainly room for improvement.
She's taking words right out of my mouth, because I have spoken to the town manager very recently about, it's one of my favorite places in town, the cemetery. And I really think, you've said something about we're going to improve the road, put some nice attractive rock on the road. But I would love to see some improvements overall to the appearance of the cemetery personally. Keeping it in the same character that it is now. So I've asked the town manager to consider enlisting some professional help.
Right.
Get some landscaping people to give us some ideas.
Can you clarify my need for professional help? Just kidding. I will say this, when I first got here, I did, I looked at the policy for the cemetery, and there were things in that policy that we weren't strictly adhering to. And when we went down that road, it was upsetting to a lot of people. There's a lot of different opinion on what should be done. Leave it alone, improve it. Grass needs to be, but so maybe we need to get some input. We can survey from those that are actually
Yeah, that's a good
families. Yeah. Just to make sure we don't go down another path
Sure.
road, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
well, we are a town famous for, again, listening to what folks who live here want to tell us. So, yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
Let's do it.
You could convene a small meeting like we did for
Or we can do a
sidewalks,
town hall
like we
for
did-
the
like we did
cemetery.
Sidewalks.
Those are some options. We'll think about that and see which ones we like better.
I think we call it the final resting.
Oh dear, here we go. Any other council comments?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I did forget something.
Oh, Cliff forgot some. Yes, sir?
In the past, y'all have kind of impressed upon me the need for prioritizing stormwater projects. And we've done that, but we don't really have, we do these projects. There's not, kind of like the past, there's not another project in the on the list. We'll do things that we can, like when we do a street improvement, when we do the mill and fill, there's not a lot of stormwater components to the mill and fill, but we did do some improvements on Chickahawk near the parking lot. Some of the work like Spindrift, if we were to, that's not at the end of Spindrift, it's not a mill and fill project. It's a standalone rebuild project. We've got a combination in it. So as we're looking at doing the mill and fill, and we have $1 million still in this year's budget for mill and fill, we need to start looking at these projects as mill and fill is separate, rebuild it, and some minor stormwater rebuilds are a whole separate thing that right now we're not budgeted for. The $1 million is going towards the mill and fill. And so I think we need to do a broader look. I just don't have, if you were to tell me what's the next project on the stormwater list, at this point, we don't have one. And so we're doing the little things that we can, but that may be in the next fiscal year, something we take a bigger look at. Occasionally you'll get emails and folks will have concern about, an issue that maybe is affecting them. We try to address those as best we can. Sometimes there's impediments. What Joe's talking about doing at Wax Myrtle and Hickory, if we get a grant for that may show that we can implement that technology in other places. But I guess what I'm saying is if there's anything that you all are aware of that we're, from a stormwater perspective, that we're not addressing, then I'd like to hear that at some point.
I'll go to the road projects. I mean, it just came to my head, but when we replace the culvert, if you take Trinity to the first stop sign, it's a huge washboard right now.
Yeah.
And then in between there and the next stop sign, it's become a huge washboard. Don't take it personal because that's the way I drive
Yep.
to go home. But I mean, it's turned into, you got to slow down to do the washboard as well as the bridge.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that can be worked into the culvert project.
It can, I think it
Completed, all the way, at least to the first stop sign. It's just a thought.
Okay.
It just keeps hitting me. In the road improvement project, we're on a 10-year cycle. We're in the fourth year now, I think. Fourth year?
This is the third.
The third year. We're
Yeah.
going to the third year. Okay. We're going to the third year. And I know that's being reevaluated every year. Has any issues popped up that may have been in year 8, 7, and 8 that need to be, in other words, the
we're good.
schedule adjusted to meet some real current needs? I don't know. I don't know if that's part of
It is.
what we were getting for the money or not.
It is.
All right.
Yeah, and one thing that David you know, if, when I presented those $3 million worth of projects,
Yeah.
that $1 million for the, I don't think you want to stop the momentum of the $1 million street work.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are funds that could be used to offset. If you're nervous about the amount of money we're spending, that $1 million for a year could go towards
Yeah.
the culvert rebuild.
I think I haven't heard anybody after we get through the first year down the road. People seem to be, pretty satisfied with what we're doing there. It just seemed, after you put in a brand new bridge to hit the washboard, it would go, what the heck did you
Yeah.
do? But that's just my, on that. But I think that would be good. Those are visible things that folks see that we're doing to improve the town. I think the cemetery improvements, big thing too. To me, it's an eyesore when I drive by. It just doesn't, it's not supposed to be appealing, but it's supposed to be peaceful.
Okay.
Anyway. I'm sorry.
I just had one question. On the streets, bridges, beaches, and canals, what are we doing for the canals?
The,
75,000.
That goes into the capital reserve fund, and that's set aside specifically for the canals. I
Yep.
think, I remember the number of like 313,000 is
Isn't
in
that
there
what we
now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, you're exactly
Yeah.
right.
Um,
You're right.
Okay, so, and basically what we're doing is we're banking, as I understand it, we're banking a capital fund for future,
Okay.
if we have to do
Dredging.
future dredging of
Dredging.
canals.
Because there's nothing in the budget line for either milfoil or canal maintenance.
That's state money.
the milfoil, I'm still waiting on the two guys from the state to tell me when they're coming and what it's going to cost. I wanted to put a line item in the budget, but right
Okay.
now I don't have a cost.
So it's just an unknown. And then there's something for maintenance, like regular, like bulkhead replacement
Yes.
kind of maintenance. We've got
Yes.
something in there.
Yeah, what's
Oh, I see bulkhead maintenance up here for 10,000.
10,000? Yeah, the
Yeah.
town, I don't know how many feet of bulkhead we own and lease, but
And that's for what we, what the town owns.
Okay.
What was the question? I'm sorry. Count. Let me address it.
one thing before we get away from cemetery,
Yeah.
we try. It's sand and there's no sun and it's really difficult. So it's gonna take, I think it would be a noticeable impact to make it look better. It's not just, it's not just a small task, but it may completely change the way it looks just to be able to improve it, if that makes sense.
Well, and I wasn't suggesting that Public Works wasn't
I
doing
know.
what they need to do, but I think we said to get, I mean, I just spent way more than that on landscaping for my front yard.
Well,
The landscaping is not cheap.
I appreciate what you're saying, because I think that's it's what we needed to hear, because we needed that direction. Otherwise, we're just trying to,
Maintain.
because it is a sensitive area in town.
Yep.
I just wanted to address on page 29, if that's where it shows the breakdown in the capital reserve fund. So you will find there that it's 313,000 after the current year's contribution. And then next year, we have budgeted on the summary page, which is page 3, to put another 75 in there. So if whenever we need to put anything in there for the canal maintenance or for the milfoil, what we'll do is we'll just take it from the capital reserve fund and move it to the general fund to pay for that expense.
Council, everybody got their questions answered? Town manager, are you comfortable with where we are?
Yes, ma'am. I'll present the manager's budget.
I just want to say thank you to each department head. Thank you to both of our chiefs, our town manager, for educating us and allowing us to understand the budget, I think, better than we did. We're sorry that none of the public showed up to talk to us, but there's still an opportunity. We will meet again in May, on the 7th of May, is it?
Right.
And then the thought is to approve it in June.
And we will have the opportunity for public to comment about the manager's budget. Do you put it out to the public before the meeting or at the meeting?
At the meeting.
Okay,
And then, yes.
all right. And,
Yeah.
okay. Everybody good? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
I'll be at the next council meeting. Will be, watching June delinquents in New Jersey.
You're going to be here in May?
No, we will not be at the next council.
You will not be the.
In May, I'll be here in June.
Oh, no. Seriously? So we have to,
I'm watching juvenile delinquents in New Jersey.
oh my.
See me.
Okay. No, we don't.